Hello and welcome to Doom Does DVD, and this is Disney Classics number 42, Treasure Planet. This one, similar to Atlantis, is one I'm kind of looking forward to because it's one that was already on my to-watch list before I started this project. Looking at the posters and the vague things I know about it, it's like they seem to have a fairly similar vibe. And I'm speculating here, but I'm guessing that the team that made Atlantis then moved on to do Treasure Planet next. So I'm expecting this one to be back to the more heavily computer-generated style rather than the more hand-drawn stuff we had for Lilo and Stitch. Story-wise, though, I don't really know a lot of what to expect. I'm guessing from the name Treasure Planet that this is some kind of sci-fi interpretation of Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. That is a complete guess, but it sounds reasonable. Oh, in fact, it does actually say that on the poster. Robert Louis Stevenson's greatest adventure, Treasure Island, as you've never seen it before. The thing is, though, I don't actually recall anything about the original story either. It's quite possibly the origin, or at least the popularization of the phrase X marks the spot. But beyond that, I don't really know anything except that some pirates are looking for some treasure. But I presume at least there is at least a little bit more to the story than that. So I think at this point it's time to actually watch it and find out. So, initial reaction to this one, it was okay, but not actually all that great. Despite the fact that the stories are completely different and unrelated, the visual style and heavy computer use does sort of make you draw comparisons with Atlantis, and of those two, this is by far the weaker. I do really love the look of it, particularly what they call the 70-30 concept of design, where 70% of everything actually looks traditional and only 30% of it is a sci-fi twist on that. And you know, I'm a massive fan of having sci-fi twists on things, and so having traditional looking ships that are actually spaceships looks great to me. But a fantastic universe and general aesthetic can't make up for a kind of boring story and not very interesting characters. You can also see that the technology has technically improved since Atlantis. Atlantis has a more sort of cel-shaded look, whereas here there's a lot more attempts to be sort of textured and realistic in the 3D elements. And of course the problem with that is, now looking at it in 2020, those improvements look dated, whereas the earlier cel shading has aged a lot better. You end up in this sort of uncanny valley, but for inanimate objects. You can see that it's realistic enough to have not been drawn, but not realistic enough to be realistic. And so when those 3D elements of things like the ships are combined with more traditional 2D drawings of the characters, there's just a bit of a mismatch, which, to me at least, doesn't quite look right. So then, talking about the characters, I do quite enjoy the fact that all the pirates are, various different types of alien. But it also feels a bit like, aside from John Silver, they weren't differentiated much and had much of a character beyond pirate. Of course, with this being a sci-fi story aimed at children, there's also an annoying robot. And of course, John Silver has a cute little alien animal companion thing. I'm guessing the original young John Silver had a parrot or something like that. But none of that particularly, resonated with me in any way. But worst of all, having a rebellious, mopey teenage boy as the lead character just doesn't do anything for me at all. Maybe if I had seen it when I was younger, that would have resonated more, but currently, to 41-year-old me, it does nothing. The only character I cared about at all was Captain Amelia, played fantastically by Emma Thompson. Unlike Atlantis, though, this one did actually have one song, but unfortunately, much like the main character, it was this kind of emo rock thing, which I have already completely forgotten. So yeah, there's some lovely world building, but unfortunately it falls down on just about every other front, which it seems most people, at least at the time, agreed with. The film had a $140 million budget, making it the most expensive traditionally animated film of all time. But its worldwide gross was only $109 million, making it one of the most expensive flops ever. There were, though, a couple of more interesting technical things going on here, mostly related to the character of John Silver. In that, for one of the first times in this kind of animation, he was part hand-drawn and part CG, which up to this point has been more of an either-or kind of situation, probably because, matching the movements between the two is likely rather tricky. But yeah, his main body and head are all, traditionally hand-drawn, but he's also got a computer-generated robot arm, peg leg, and eye thing. And because of that, that led to some other innovations. Back since Pinocchio, Disney have had a sculpture department which would make little maquettes of all the characters so that the animators would have something 3D they could rotate around and look at from different angles to assist with their drawings. And here they took the 3D model of John Smith's arm and used a very early form of 3D printing to make a physical version of that, which was then attached to the more traditional clay-formed body, which I thought was kind of cool. I hadn't realised there was any form of 3D printing, although it's a very different form at this point, quite that long ago. It's just a bit of a shame that the film itself didn't end up quite as interesting as the technology that went behind it. So what are your thoughts on Treasure Planet? Tell me about those in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next week with Brother Bear.